There was once a king, but decreed religious exile over his country. Whoever wanted to remain in the country would have to convert, otherwise he would be exiled from the country. There were some people who left behind all their belongings and wealth and left the country in poverty in order to maintain the faith and remain Jews. Others, though, could not bear to part with their belongings and wealth and remained living as forced converts in secrecy. They observed Jewish law, but in public they were unable to live like Jews. Eventually this king died, and his son became king. The son began to rule with a firm hand, conquering other countries. He was also very wise, since he ruled over the royal ministries with an iron hand. They plotted against him and agreed to assassinate him. And to wipe out his entire family. Among these ministries was one of these forced converts. He thought to himself, why did I become a forced convert in the first place? Because I didn't want to give up my wealth and belongings. Now if the country will be without a king, all citizens will be prey to each other. It is impossible for a country to be without a king. So this minister decided to go and tell the king behind the backs of the other ministers. He told the king that they have made a plot against him. The king investigated if this was true or not, and he discovered that it was true. So he stationed guards, and on the night they had planned to assassinate him. They were caught, tried, and each of them punished accordingly. The king then said to the minister, who was a forced convert, what honor can I give you for saving me and my family? I appoint you a minister. You are already a minister. Give you money. You already have money. Just tell me whatever honor you would like, and I will do it for you. The forced convert answered, but will you really do as I ask? But will you really do as I ask? Certainly, the king answered. Swear to me by your crown and your kingdom, said the forced convert, and the king swore. The forced convert then said, my biggest honor would be to be able to be a Jew in public, to put on talis and tefillin in public. The king was extremely enraged, since no one was allowed to be a Jew throughout his country, but he had no choice, since he had sworn. So the next day, the forced convert went and put on a talis and tefillin in public. Eventually, this king died, and his son became king. He began to rule with softness, seeing how his dynasty was nearly wiped out. But he too conquered many countries and was extremely wise. This new king ordered to gather all astrologers to tell him what might cause his dynasty to be wiped out, so he could avoid it. They told him that his dynasty would not be wiped out if he only avoided bulls, and rams. They told him that his dynasty would not be wiped out if he only avoided bulls and rams. This was inscribed in the book of records. Before the king died, he instructed his children to also act with softness as he had. But after this king died and his son became king, he began to rule with a firm hand, like his grandfather, and conquered many countries. Then he had a clever idea. He decreed that no bull or ram be allowed in the country, so that his dynasty would not be wiped out. He then had nothing to fear and ruled with a firm hand. He also became extremely wise and had another clever idea how to conquer the entire world without a battle. There are 7 areas on Earth, since it is divided into 7 parts. There are also 7 planets, each planet shining on a different part of Earth. And there are 7 different metals, each of the 7 planets shining on a specific metal. So he went and gathered all of the 7 different metals. Harder to have the golden statues. In order to have the golden statues of all kings which hang in their palaces, to be brought to him. From this he made a human statue, the head of which was gold, its body silver, and other limbs of other metals. This human image thus embodied all types of metal. This human image thus embodied all types of metal. He stationed it on top of a high mountain, and all the 7 planets shined upon this human image when anyone needed any advice, such as whether or not to get involved in a certain business deal. He would stand facing the limb of the specific metal corresponding to the part of the world from which he was from. He would then focus on this question of whether or not to do something, and if he was supposed to do it, then that specific limb would shine, and if not, it would darken. In this way, the king conquered the entire world and amassed a huge amount of money. However, this human image was unable to do as above unless the king humbled the haughty and raised the lowly. So he sent orders to all generals and other ministers who held any position or rank. When they all arrived, he demoted them by stripping them of their positions. Even stripping the positions of those who had held them since the time of his great-grandfather. Then he raised the lowly by appointing others in their stead. Amongst the ministers and the king was about to demote was this false convert. The king asked him, "What is your position?" The false convert told him, "My position is to be able to be a Jew in public in reward for a favor that I did for your grandfather." So this king stripped him of this position, and he reverted to being a false convert. Sometime after this, when the king was sleeping, through the clear sky of a dream, he saw all 12 constellations, and the constellations of the bull and the ram were laughing at him. Awakening very anxious and worried, he ordered to have the book of records brought before him. In it he saw written that his dynasty would be wiped out by a bull and a ram. He was now overcome with great terror, and he told the queen. The queen and her children also became very terrified, extremely distressed. He called for all the dream interpreters. Each of them interpreted the dream as he understood it, but none of the interpretations resonated with him. A day, being great fear overwhelmed him. Eventually a sage came to him and told him, "I have a tradition from my father that the sun has 365 paths, and there is a place upon which all of the 365 of the sun's paths shine, and iron rod grows there. And anyone who has any fear can be spared from the fear if he goes to this round." This appealed to the king. So he went with his wife and children and all his descendants to this place with the sage. However along this way stands the angel in charge of anger. Anger creates destructive angels, and this angel was appointed over all these destructive angels. He is asked which way to follow, for there is a path that brings a person straight to his goal, while another path is full of mud, and another one full of potholes and pits, and many other paths. And many other paths, and there is one path along which there is a fire that incinerates within a radius of 19 kilometers. The king and the sage asked him which path to follow. He told them to follow the path of fire. As they were walking, the sage kept looking around to see if there was any fire. He had a tradition from his father that there is a fire there. Suddenly he saw the fire. He saw how kings, together with Jews donned in talis and tefillin, were walking to the fire. This was because Jews lived in the countries of these kings, so they were able to pass by the fire. The sage said to the king, Since I have a tradition that anyone within 19 kilometers from the fire is incinerated, I do not want to go on any further. The king thought that since he sees other kings walking there past the fire, he would be able to go as well. But the sage repeated, I have this tradition from my father, so I don't want to go. If you wish to go, then go. So the king continued on with his family. The fire caught onto them, and they were all incinerated and annihilated. When the sage returned home, the ministers were stunned. Had not the king avoided bulls and rams? How was he and his family wiped out? How was he and his family wiped out? The forced convert explained to them, it is because of me. The astrologers saw, but they did not understand what they saw. For the hide of the bull is made of tefillin, and from the wool of the ram is made the tzitzis for the talis. But that was how the king and his family were wiped out. The host kings in whose countries lives Jews, who are done in talis and tefillin, were able to walk past the fire and not be harmed at all. In the king's country, though, Jews are not allowed to don talis and tefillin. Therefore, the constellations of the bull and the ram were laughing at him. When the astrologers said, or the astrologers saw, but did not understand what they saw. So he and his family were wiped out. Why are nations in an uproar? Crush them with an iron rod, lest they become angry, and lose the way, for his wrath will be enraged. Psalm 2:9. The meaning of this story is very mysterious and hidden. All this I heard, but I found some allusions to the story in the above chapter in Psalms. Let us unbind the straps, cast aside their cords. Straps refers to the leather, alluding to the tefillin. Cords are threads, alluding to the tzitzis, as our sages said. On this verse regarding the tzitzis and tefillin of Surah 3b, he who dwells on high will laugh. This alludes to the bull and the ram in the sky, and that laughed at the king. Then he will speak to them in his wrath, and they will be terrified from his anger. This alludes to the anger, terror, and fear spoken of in this story. Anger, terror, and fear spoken of in this story. But I have anointed my king on Zion, my holy mountain. Perhaps the allusion here is to the human statue that the king erected on the high mountain. For all the king on the high mountain. For all things have their opposites, and the statue diametrically corresponds to the king of Zion, the holy mountain where all parts of the world are represented. That is the illusion of the mountain. Anointed alludes to melting and molding the statue. Ask me refers to all the advice sought in the story. Nations as are your inheritance. Nations are as your inheritance, and your portion till the ends of the earth. Loads to the 7 parts of the world, and all the kings and nations serve. Loads to the tzitzis, with all alludes to the tefillin, and rejoice in trepidation. Alludes to the terror in the story. The prince of precious stones, nanach, nachman, meuman. There was once a king who had no sons. He went to many doctors to prevent his kingdom from leaving his family, but to no avail. So he decreed on the Jews to pray for him to have sons. Nanach, nachman, nachman.